Howdy, folks. Thanks for tuning in. My name's JB Zielke, and this is the Dusty Vaquero Podcast. Punchy, poetic, pure. All right, we're in Oklahoma now.
Heck yeah!
Just drove 1,100 miles over the last couple of days. I just did one of these podcasts with Brendan Green.
Oh yeah,
two days ago, I guess. But came down to Colten Jesse's place down here in Oklahoma, and we did a video a long time ago. We did the first video out in California at what was that place? Arbuckle.
Yeah, at Bergie's.
Bergie's, yeah. That was a cool spot. But, so we've done several videos since then. But, thanks for doing the podcast.
No, thanks for coming down, man. I appreciate it. It seems like it was just the other day when we was at Bergie's.
I know it.
Shout out Steve Burgess. But I appreciate you for coming down. I appreciate you. I know we was talking about your festival and all that and everything that goes on earlier, but appreciate you for having me there. I appreciate you for coming down here. Thanks for taking time.
Absolutely. Well, let's start off with. So did you grow up right around here in this area?
I did actually. I'm not from here in Stratford, but just across the river to the north, kind of northeast from Konawa. That's where I'm from. That's where I basically born and bred. In Konawa, if you will, but I grew up around here, and I don't know a whole lot of people from this town, but I do have a handful of friends that moved into this town, luckily. So
sure,
I know them, and we're kind of making our home here now. So.
Sweet. Well, so what'd your childhood look like? Were you playing a bunch of sports, or I mean, we'll get into it a little bit, but you rode bulls and stuff too. So what were you doing as a kid?
I had probably the best childhood. I'll put that out there. I'll give it up to my parents, owe to them for that, because they tried their ass off. But not to air their stuff out or nothing, but my parents had me at what I would consider a young age, especially now. I'm 29 now, and they had me at 20. So I have a lot of respect for them for doing all the things that they did to give me the childhood that they did. But I had pretty cake childhood. I don't remember the early years, but this trailer house isn't there anymore, but there's a storage unit in downtown Konawa, or behind downtown Konawa, behind the city hall and the jail. 2 storage buildings, or storage unit buildings. And there was an old trailer back behind there, and that's where I think we got our start as a family. Mm-hmm. And my earliest childhood memories, we had a trailer house north of town on 5 acres, and from my earliest memories, I was always infatuated with bull riding. Mm-hmm. And my dad rode bulls a little bit. He had plenty of injuries, as plenty of bull riders do. Mm-hmm. My grandpa before him rode a little bit. My dad's brother dabbled in rough stock as well, and plenty of sports. And my mom, she was decently athletic. She's very smart. Mm-hmm. Really, she's very, very smart. I feel like that come out kind of in a dumber way than I meant it to, but she is really smart. But all from the same town, and I don't know. Konawa's Konawa. If you're from there, you know it. But if you're from small town Oklahoma, I feel like you know every small town. But I played sports growing up, or I tried to play every sport, and I feel like I was decently athletic, we had a class of like 40. So, you know, you can't help but judge yourself against your peers.
Sure.
So there's no telling if I was good or not. But I had fun growing up. I had a blast growing up in school. I ended up homeschooling when I was after I got into high school, and I was taking bull riding more seriously. And bull riding was my life for a long time. Mm-hmm. It was from my earliest memory, probably in that trailer house that I mentioned in downtown Konawa till not too long ago. And I could delve more into the childhood thing. I know I bounced around a bunch, but
first tip that mic up a little bit so you're like just
my bad.
Yeah, upward. Perfect. Yeah, that's good.
What
like when you were what did the bull riding look like when you first started? Like, did you get on calves, sheep? Did you go straight to bulls? How did it start?
I started off on riding sheep, and I'm not sure how old I was. I was probably I usually say 4. Mm-hmm. I was infatuated with it before that. I'm sure there's pictures, but at 4 I was dang sure. Just I was riding. I was going. We wasn't going to the local rodeo when it come into town. We was driving. My dad always jokes. He said, I put 80,000 miles on a brand new truck.
Yeah.
Hauling you to junior bull ridings. And we did. So it felt like at an early age, and we wasn't necessarily doing that at that early of an age, but I mean, it might have been 4 to 5, especially by the time I was 5 to 6, I felt like we was going to junior bull ridings all over or not the country, but the state. Mm-hmm.
And were those mini bulls, or were they like steers that you were getting on?
At that point in time, I still feel like junior bull ridings were still pretty unregulated, so it wasn't necessarily like mini bulls or anything like that. I remember my dad, we've talked about it a little bit before, and I might be putting words in his mouth, so forgive me for that if I do, but he was talking about like when I was little, because we go to some of those junior bull ridings, and when I started getting into calves, sometimes we'd show up, and it might be some good Holsteins or something that just kind of, or some jerseys or something that kind of crow hop across the pen. And then sometimes you might show up and it might be somebody's buck and stock yearlings or 2-year-olds or something for the calf riding. It's like, it's not that it's a bad thing, but it's like it's children, you know. Right. I don't mean to say it that way, but. And my dad, he always tried to hold me back, as best he could anyway, and guide me. He'd take me to certain spots, you know, or certain associations that had good stuff. So I didn't even see anything. I didn't even know about mini bulls until I was closer to like 12 to 13. Mm-hmm. And it was almost time to start thinking about getting on some bigger bulls anyway.
Right.
The mini bulls came around and I was like, dang, that's awesome. I don't know if I ever got on one, honestly.
Right. Yeah.
I wanted to so bad and I never got the chance.
Yeah, when I was younger, I don't remember seeing them. It seems like it's kind of a newer thing, because when I was, I don't know, maybe the past 15 years or 10 years, they've really kicked off where a lot of people have mini bulls, but I don't remember that when I was younger.
And that's kind of how it seemed to me too. Like when I got, especially after I turned 18, it seemed like they was happening all over the place, which I felt like it was a good thing, and it's prepared in my own mind a lot of guys for like that step up to getting on bigger bulls. And
yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, calves don't really turn back, so I mean, those young kids, they're getting an earlier start on something that's actually going to spin on, where, you know, that's kind of a tough thing to learn when you've been getting on jumpers your whole childhood. But so
a lot more action. So they so then you moved. Did you high school rodeo all over Oklahoma, I'm guessing? I actually skipped out on the high school rodeo. We ended up going to some junior high rodeos, and that was, even at that time, I don't even know when the junior high rodeo thing kind of kicked off, but it still felt like it was kind of like a newer thing at that point. Mm-hmm. But we'd go to those because we knew they had good bulls, and I'm glad I went to those because it was a weird point in time. Like, I don't know what they get on now at those things, at the junior high rodeos, but when I was going back then, they would bring in like 3-year-old bulls, 2 or 3-year-old bulls, or they may not be young bulls, but they might be smaller, or just, it was a good pin. I felt like it was a good learning step up. And we went to those, but by the time I got to the high school rodeos, my dad had rode enough, and I trusted his judgment on damn near anything he told me, especially as far as bull riding went. And by the time I got to high school, he'd started hauling me around. We went. Not only were we going to like junior high rodeos, but by the time we were going to junior high rodeos, we went. We were going to Indian rodeos at the same time, and the year before. Anyway, I'm bouncing around a lot. I'm sorry, but the year before I was entered at the Indian rodeos in the junior bull riding, but most of the time it'd be like steers or something, or sometimes they might haul a zebu in or something, but. The year after that, I was like 14, and I started entering. I was 14, about to turn 15, and started entering the open bull riding because we knew the stock contractors. They were some kinfolk of ours, and they started going decent. Like, they just had some good campaigners and stuff, and I got to where I was riding bigger bulls anyway. So that by the time I got to where I was in high school, my dad was kind of, and I was already convinced too, but my dad was kind of like, it's going to cost you this much to go to high school rodeos anyway. He's like, there's plenty of open bull ridings around these parts. If you're going to go, especially if you're taking it serious enough anyway. It was just always kind of like, if you're taking it serious enough, like, why not go where the most money is? And that always made sense to me.
Sure.
And so I probably dove off a little fast, like the head first into the open bull riding. Like, honestly, my body probably wasn't developed enough, but I had such a fun time.
I bet.
But I did miss out on the high school rodeo, but I wouldn't have it no other way. Sure.
Well, talk a little bit, because some people that listen to this might know, but probably a lot of people don't. What is Indian? It's the IPRA, right? Indian Pro Rodeo Association, or is it separate thing that you're going to?
My bad. Well, it's actually, I think the only what would you call that acronym? Is that the right word? INFR.
INFR.
Like they had the Indian National Finals Rodeo, and I'm not sure how it's all set up now. I've seen a few of my friends that have something to do with the INFR and all that, but at the time it was all set up in regions. So we were, I don't know what everybody else's regions were, but ours was Region 8. We were the Arrington. It was like the Arrington. I might be messing that up. I think it's Arrington McSpadden. There was some other acronym that was on top of that, but it was Region 8 for the Indian Association. And you just buy your card, as far as I'm aware, just like any other association. And you qualify. At that point in time, you qualified through your region. You go to your region finals, and then they take top 2 after the region finals to the INFR in Las Vegas. I think at that point in time they were still, or had already been doing it at the South Point in Las Vegas, and it's a large time out there. I missed the Indian finals 2 years.
Oh, really?
I missed it in the Junior Bulls, and then I missed it in the Open, and I tucked my tail and come back to Seminole County.
Well, and then how do you need to be like a certain percentage native to, or is it open to everybody, or how does that work?
As far as I'm aware, I don't really know. There is some people I could probably ask, and I could probably find out more as far as that. But as far as I'm aware, as long as you have your CDIB card, whatever that is, verifying that you're native.
Right. Then you can compete.
Right. Yep. And just buy your card and fill out the paperwork and all that, and it's a fun time. there's not as many like big rodeos around in Oklahoma. There is like the big tour rodeo in Oklahoma, as far as the Indian Association goes, is at Okmulgee. I think it's at Okmulgee. Yes, it's Creek Nation Days at Okmulgee, and it's there'll be other cats coming from New Mexico or up north and Montana and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh dang, they have a good time. the whole rodeo is just that much fun. Like, they don't even, as far as Creek Nation goes, I think they'll do relay races, but it's not like Indian relay races. It'll be I don't remember what it's called exactly, but anyway, it's a good time.
It's a good time. So you went from, kind of the lower end stuff, and you jumped straight into these kind of amateur and pro rodeos and skipped high school. And then what happened from there? Because you just kept elevating from that point.
Yeah, I just I kept following my dad's advice, like I was mentioning, because he, like I mentioned before, he kind of been through it all in the generation right before me anyway. I felt like he had some good insight, and he'd been hurt, and our kinfolk that was hauling stock to the Indian rodeos I mentioned earlier, they had their own open rodeo series that they did, and some of them would be like co-sanctioned as far as amateur rodeo associations around Oklahoma, Arkansas, probably Kansas. I'm not really sure what all the co-sanctions were, but they just had a bunch of different open rodeos that were close enough, and they had good bulls. There were no man killers or nothing. They were just some good, solid bulls, and I followed them around for a year. And then I dang sure had hell for a little while. I felt like I was probably growing. I know I was growing at the time. But 16, I felt like I had a bunch of heck riding. And then by the time I was about to turn 17, I had started running with a friend of mine by the name of Joseph McConnell, and he'd stopped in at the house, and I don't know why my parents let him move in with us. No, I'm just joking. He was a young guy at the time that was about, we were close enough in age, and he stopped by at the house, and we was kind of on the same mission. It felt like, just like we didn't really give a shit about anything besides riding bulls, and that was the only plan.
Sure.
And that's what we did. That was loud.
So then did you guys go start PRCA rodeoing together? What was the next step?
We did. Actually, when me and Joseph started running together, he had already been doing the PBR thing for a little while, and he was like, I think he had just turned 20 or something, and I had just turned 17, so I still had a full year or whatever. But I went with him to a couple of PBRs, and then he wasn't on tour yet or whatever, so like he was still going to some open deals too. So we'd go hit some open deals, and then I don't remember. I was already hurt when we met or something, and then I'd come back, and then he got hurt, and then it seems like that was a back and forth deal for the time we knew each other, for the whole time we've known each other. But anyway, we ended up going to the PRCA for a little while, and I have another friend. We're here at his in-laws, Brendan Eldred. He lives just southeast of here, and I'd known him probably longer than I'd known Joseph anyway. But when we started pro rodeo, and I loaded up in Brennan's rig, and it was weird because me and Joseph were living in the same spot, but Joseph wound up hopping in another one of our buddies' rigs, and I hopped in another rig. Mm-hmm. But we didn't have enough money to run our own rig. We didn't tell nobody that, but I'm sure they caught the drift. Right. Yeah. But we did the pro rodeo thing for a couple of years, and we traded off on injuries. It seems like the whole friend group trades off on injuries or whatever, and That's just what happened. And then I ended up going to the PBR, and Joseph bought his PBR stuff back, and my buddy Brennan went to the PBR, and we did the PBR thing for a little while, and then we, I don't know, stuff happens. A few of us, we've all had plenty of injuries, and a few of us have tried to grow up, a few of us have grown up, and a few of us don't even know what that's about.
Well, as a guy that's done both PRCA and PBR bull riding, what do you think in your mind? Because there's guys that do both, but there's guys kind of stick to their camp, one or the other, it seems like. Mm-hmm. In your mind, what is kind of the difference between your PRCA bull rider and your PBR bull rider?
Dang, I don't really know. I feel like I might be speaking out of pocket here, but I feel like I can only speak from my own experience. I'll say that. But I know when I went to the PRCA because I felt like it was a rite of passage type of deal. But I also had some other guys that had been there, done that before, kind of mentioned to me. As I started coming up, getting closer to 18, and running with Joseph. Joseph already knew a bunch of people, but I was already, like, bull riding a small world as it is. And so I kind of getting to know some people that I looked up to anyway, and they was offering some advice, and they'd be like, I heard from a couple different people, like, just go pro rodeo for your first 2 years and then go to the PBR if that's what you want to do. But that's all I ever thought about was a PBR World Championship, and I never really even gave thought to a PRCA World or like even making the NFR or nothing until I bought my card. And then so I don't know for sure, but especially now, I feel like the PRCA pays better than it did for sure, but the PBR also pays better than it did back in the day. But groceries are also 30% higher than they were, so
yeah, that's
a whole nother deal. But I don't know. I feel like it's also has something to do like with where you're from. Being from Oklahoma, Texas, even New Mexico, but it seems like there's, as far as U.S. citizens go that make it through the PBR and start going to the PBR, it seems like they're very regional. There's a couple of exceptions, obviously, that come from different parts of the country, like, but they typically, especially like your world champions, they're coming from like a rodeo family or second, third generation or something. They got something to do with it. I'm bouncing all around, I know. The PBR has created a whole nother, like, fucking, I don't mean to drop curse words, right, but a whole nother market for not only rodeo but bucking bulls. And so, like, a bunch of bucking bulls are in Oklahoma and Texas. I'm trying to think where else. North Carolina, New Mexico, Chad Berger up in, North Dakota. I mean, there's plenty of bull guys, but also, like, a bunch of those bull guys. We were talking about some earlier. Like, a bunch of them either play the PBR game or in the ABBI deal, and that, what that deal, or they got rodeo cards, or they're on somebody else's rodeo cards. So I feel like, I know I jumped all around, but I feel like a lot of northern guys, northwestern guys, or even just western guys end up pro rodeo. I can't say that apparently. Pro rodeoing. Yeah. Up that way more so because it makes more sense, especially financially and logistically, to go, because all those good rodeos are up that way. Right. Like, you can hit the Texas run down here, but that's in the winter. Like, that's the only good run for us. And being from Oklahoma, like, it makes sense when we do the Texas run in the winter or the spring, and then we would do the Kansas run at the end of the summer, and then we'd come home for 2 days, and then we'd go back out northwest for the rest of the summer. Right. It made sense to me to pro rodeo if you lived out that way. But being around all the bucking bulls down here, it made sense to me to just go ahead and do the PBR thing. You're already getting on, especially if you go to the circuit rodeos or even the circuit finals, you're bound to get, I say that, I don't know, we were talking about Powder River and D&H bulls being up there, so I don't really know.
Sure.
I don't know anything. I know that much.
Well, so at what age were you on tour with the PBR?
I don't think I was on tour until I think I turned 21. I think I just turned 21. I was about to turn 21, and I was starting to kind of slide up on tour, but I wasn't on tour until about later that year. Like I think it was like 2018.
Well, and just quickly explain that for people that maybe don't understand. Like, there's the Built Ford Tough series, or I don't even know if they still call it that, but there was like the Built Ford Tough series, but there's also kind of these lower level PBR events that you kind of slide up in the rankings in order to end up there, right? Is that how it works?
Yeah. And then as far as I'm aware, I think, just like any, if you joined any association to compete, you buy your stuff, and as soon as you enter into the system, you're at the bottom, and as far as I'm aware. But that's how it works with the PBR. You buy your stuff, and you're at the bottom with 0. And every year starts over for the season points or whatever. And so I'd come off of an injury that kind of cut my season short in the PRCA, and just rehabbed, and I bought my PBR stuff as soon as I come back, and that was like 2017. And I went to a few events that kind of set me up for my 2018 season, and I went through their qualifier deals at the time. Used to be Challenger series. I think it was called Velocity Tour at the time or something, and there could have been a brand that was like it could have been called something else, but it was the Velocity Tour as far as I'm aware, and that was kind of the step before the televised events. And I think the year that I started, it wasn't 2018, sorry, I'm backing up, but in 2017 I bounced around to a couple of the Velocity events, and I won. And when you would win those Velocity events, they would give you an automatic invite to the next tour event. And I think they were still called Built Ford Toughs at one of those. I could be wrong, but it could have been maybe that year or the year before that they switched it to Monster Energy, Unleash the Beast or something.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But anyway, I did that deal, and in 2018, I was still kind of trying to get on tour in 2018, and I went to, I know at least 3 or 4 of those Velocity events, and I'm not sure what they're called now. I'm not sure if they're the same thing, but I went to those, and I really kind of had heck for a long time. I felt like I was just overthinking a lot of stuff. Still do, come to find out. But it wasn't until the end of 2018 I felt like I could be there and I could ride, and it's a whole nother mental ball game just even trying to do it all, as we were talking earlier. But
so then it's in 2019 that you spent a whole year you were on the televised events the whole year?
Yeah. And in 2019 I got to start the season on tour, and they started it in New York City at the time. And the first event's at Madison Square Garden. And that was like overwhelming as it was.
Yeah.
So I really thought I was hot shit for a little while. I thought I always tried to keep myself humble, but for a second, especially when I started on that year on tour, I was like, I can do this. It was more so I was trying to inflate my own ego, like we was talking earlier, like trying to be like, I'm here, I can do this,
right,
or whatever. And but I had plenty of wrecks to justify that I was not the guy.
Right.
I was not the man.
Well, we were also saying this earlier, that when you're riding bulls, especially, I've never done it at that level, but you have to kind of convince yourself that you're invincible, that what you're doing is not dangerous. You're not going to fall off, and it's a serious mental game to prepare at that level. And different guys handle it differently, but you kind of do have to have a chip on your shoulder how you go about things, because it's it's life or death every time you get on.
You're right,
and you got to believe you're the best in the world at doing it, and that's a tough thing to do, especially when you're doing it day in and day out, like or no, it's not even about doing it day in and day out, but like come every weekend, and like you might know, even if you get your ass handed to you on Saturday, you might know Sunday morning that you're gonna have to get on another one that next weekend, right? Yeah,
and you've already made the decision, or whether it's the right one or not, or the winning or losing one, whatever. Yeah, it's so tiring.
Yeah. When you think back on rodeo, is there one ride that you made that you think back on that was the best bull ride I ever made?
Not necessarily. To me, it was more so just a bunch of little moments. Mm-hmm. And I mean, there is a couple of bull rides that stand out in my mind, but it was just because I've had a few years to look back on a few of them. So I've gotten to appreciate a bunch of them more than I did at the time. But I was always constantly over-critiquing myself. I felt like I don't know how much fun I really had bull riding since I was probably 17, 18. I was just more loose, too loose with my lifestyle back then. But I don't know. There's more so, like I said, there's a bunch of little moments, I could probably pull up a couple of videos and be like, I like this one because I'd been getting my ass handed to me away from my hand, but I rode this one away from my hand. I rode him good. Or,
right.
I rode him how I wanted to, and maybe not good, but.
They were more like winning internal battles that you were fighting just with yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there a buckle that you're most proud of that you have?
Not necessarily. I always wanted a world champion buckle so bad that it's almost like none of the other ones mattered. Or it didn't mean to say that way, but that's how I kind of looked at a bunch of them. I was very spoiled to have grown up in such an opportunistic land to be able to do what I did for a living. But I wanted to be a world champion so bad I couldn't stand it. But after I got done and I've looked at a bunch of my prizes, I like cool stuff that I've won. And a few places I did win some cool stuff. Big Sky, Montana has a cool PBR. I'm not even sure if it's a Velocity or if it's a Touring Pro or what they call them now, but they gave me like $30,000 worth of stuff up there.
No kidding.
That was money. It might have been closer to $50,000 worth of stuff, including all the prizes and stuff, including with the prize money.
Wow.
But, I mean, as far as buckles and stuff go, one of the coolest buckles I won was, I guess, probably the only tour buckle I won. But I thought they were cool because they were old school, and it's I don't know what size, but it's a square. It kind of has a rope-bound edge. Kind of looks like a 90s buckle.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was cool. I could be remembering it wrong. It's been a while since I've seen it, but.
What event was that? I
was in 2020 in Bismarck.
Oh, Bismarck.
Yeah. They actually gave me a saddle up there, too, and that's Chad Berger's event. Shout out Chad Berger. I'd seen him at another event in Deadwood 2 weeks before that. He said he was telling me about Bismarck because it was the first year they're going to do it as a tour event, and he's like, we're going to be giving away all this cool shit. He's like, you ought to win it. And I did, and I was like, this is some cool shit. It really was. He gave me, there was a Pendleton blanket they gave me, a 30-30 rifle, is a trophy saddle, but is a nice, I don't remember what the tree is in. It's a nice ranch saddle.
Huh.
All kinds of stuff.
What about when you think back on bull riding, what was the worst wreck that you ever had?
probably, my bad. We was talking about D&H bulls earlier. Well, you was talking about Powder River,
Mm-hmm.
and they used to haul a bunch of bulls to their rodeos. And,
Yep.
They have their place. So we're in Stratford, and they're just less than an hour south of here. Their ranch,
Mm-hmm.
bunch of bulls, so many bulls. We was talking about that earlier. Just, you can drive down there, if you drive down through there, especially during the day, for a long time. Like, you'll pass this turnoff for a highway that goes back to the interstate, and then there'll be bulls on both sides of the highway for about 5, 6, 7 miles. Bulls everywhere.
And they're all bucking bulls.
And they're all bucking bulls. It's crazy, especially when you grow up, thinking about bull riding. This is all you think about. But I started going down there at I think I was probably 16. And then I started running with my buddy Joseph, I was mentioning. And we started going down there and hanging out. And we'd go get on bulls sometimes for a little while. Like, we were trading off on injuries. We'd go down there and just drink beer and hang out. And then I was riding. I don't think Joseph was, but we were down there just getting on practice bulls. I was actually 18. I just turned 18 and just got my PRCA stuff. And we had went to, or not me and Joe, but I went to two pro rodeos on my permit. I think I filled my permit, but I wasn't going to buy my card anyway. Turned out of a rodeo in Nebraska or something the next week because I had a piece of junk as far as I was concerned. Mm-hmm. We went down to D&H's, got on some practice bulls, and I just let one just kind of get me high away from my hand and rolled me out the back. And I didn't ride in a helmet at the time. Mm-hmm. And he stepped right on my face and broke my jaw in the middle and then on both sides. And I lost a couple teeth. But that was the worst one.
And then you have your jaw wired shut for a long time?
Yeah, for a little while. About 6 weeks, I think.
What was I never broke my jaw, but
yeah,
I remember a few buddies doing that. What was your favorite thing that you would eat? Because the guys I know that when they'd break their jaws, they would put the most awful stuff you could imagine in a blender.
Oh, yeah.
And they'd be like, oh, it's so good. But did you find anything that was, like, odd that you really liked in a blender?
No. We were just talking about this a little bit the other day. I never found anything that I liked in a blender, which I didn't try a whole lot. Mm-hmm. I was fortunate. I knocked a couple teeth out on the bottom, so I had a hole that I could stick a good straw through. And so I thought for a little while I was going to try the blender stuff. And my mom made some spaghetti in a blender, and I tried that, and it was just like, it just kind of ruined it just ruined the thought of food for me for a little while. And I was like, I'll just stick to protein shakes and all kinds of stuff. And I stuck to Ensure protein shakes, and I think I lost like 20 pounds, but I didn't lose as much as I thought I was going to. I drank a lot of beer.
All right.
Unfortunately.
The Dusty Vaquero Podcast is brought to you by Du Bois Western, supporting Western culture, art, and heritage throughout Wyoming. Join us at wyomingwestern.com.
So, you were riding bulls most of your life, most of your childhood, clear into adulthood, but music was a big part of your life as well. How did you get into music, and where, when did you learn to play guitar? When did you start writing songs? Who taught you that stuff? Where'd it come from?
I don't really know. I don't really know where it came from. Both my grandmas on both sides had pianos in their houses. Mm-hmm. But as far as I was aware, not that many people played. Or if anybody played, I didn't know about it. I had a couple cousins that played or took lessons, but there was never a time that I recall anybody just playing instruments or anything like that. I probably watched too much TV or movies or something when I was younger. probably watch Dusty or not Dusty. What is that movie?
With George Strait.
Pure Country.
Yeah.
Sorry. Probably watched that movie or something when I was younger, but there's a picture that I put on one of the first releases I put out, and it's a picture. I'm carrying a rigging bag, and it was after a rodeo, and I got a guitar in the other hand, but it was up in Pawhuska. My grandpa had moved up there. He was moved up there to work, and they had a rodeo or a junior bull riding up there, and we went up there, and I'd won. It was either a junior bull riding or a rodeo, and I was in there in the mutton busting, but I won a little bit of money, and we'd went to the pawn shop there before the rodeo, and I'd seen a guitar. It was a kid's guitar, and I wanted it. I was 4 or 5, and I wanted that thing, and I won a little bit of money, and somebody took me back up there, and we got that guitar, and I never learned to play it or nothing. I started strumming on it, waiting on the right stuff to come out, and it never did. But throughout all our journeys riding bulls or whatever, I don't remember. If it was after I broke my jaw or right before I turned 18. I had broke like the little spinal processes on the side of your spines.
Mm-hmm.
I broke a couple of them in my lower back, and I was just taking a little bit of time off. But my buddy Joseph was entered at a pro rodeo or something, and we went up to Nebraska. I don't remember where. You said Grand Island earlier.
Mm-hmm. Right in the middle of Nebraska.
It could have been there, but I don't really remember. But anyway, we drove up there and then just drove straight back that night. We stopped at a rest stop in Kansas or something and passed out for a couple hours in the front seat and then woke up and kept on driving. And I had just, whatever I'd left over from before I got hurt in my pocket or in my bank account. And we got almost back to the house, and we was in Tecumseh, Oklahoma, Shawnee area, and there's a pawn shop right off the highway there, and I said, let's take this exit. We probably went to McDonald's right across the road or something and got some really good food But we went to this pawn shop, and I bought a guitar that day. And I was going to be sitting on my ass for 4 months, or not 4 months, my bad, 4 weeks at least. And I was trying to make use of my time, something more so than just fucking off. Mm-hmm. And I'm so glad I did. I never put it down after that, and before I got ahead of myself. That's when the guitar thing started happening. I had a stint in the junior high band. I played saxophone for a little while, and I really did enjoy that. That's kind of probably where I started falling in love with playing music, and I had a good teacher in my junior high band, and I didn't stay in the band, but.
So your parents are not musicians, because you were mentioning earlier that your sister also is an artist. She makes jewelry. We've got some of it sitting next to us here. And so it kind of, the artistic bone sort of runs in your family a little bit, but they weren't musicians necessarily.
Right. Yeah, it does, and I feel like we're all still kind of finding it. I don't know. As far as the artistic thing goes. But like I mentioned before, as far as I am aware, there wasn't anybody actively just playing music that I was aware of, that I was around or anything. There was a few people around in the town that played music and could play really good, or still do, but I don't know. It wasn't something that I didn't even necessarily think about playing and singing until I started hearing some good lyrics and songs that I don't know, just kind of started resonating with me, or you hear some cool songs and you're like, dang, that's really cool how he put that, or how you relate to stuff. I don't know. I just got infatuated with it.
I imagine you learned cover songs first that you could just kind of like figure out how to play guitar. But at what point did you think, well, maybe I can write my own songs?
I don't really know. I started messing with playing the guitar, and I really didn't even mean to start messing with the singing, but like I said, like I started listening or finding, or people were showing me some cool stuff that I never heard before, and I was like, I just wanted to see if I could mimic the sound. You know, I feel like that's how a lot of people start out. I don't really know, but after I started discovering that I could do that a little bit, instead of mimicking, I kind of wanted to write. But just because that's what I was listening to was a bunch of good songwriters, and they were all writing about stuff that they knew about, but it was worded in a way that made me think that, not that I could do it at first, but I was just infatuated with it. I was like, this is so badass. More so, and I don't mean to be so partial to the sad songs, but the sad songs did that a lot for me. Just being able to resonate,
right,
or let something out.
Yeah,
I guess
I'm a sucker for sad songs myself. All my favorite songs are sad songs. But you growing up here in Oklahoma, I mean, the Red Dirt scene, you know, at that time would have been exploding, and you know, people are finding out about Turnpike and you know, bands like that, which, I mean, just as much as Texas has a big music culture, Oklahoma has just as many musicians coming out of here, and they're all over the place. And so kind of that independent music was becoming cool at that time. I'm a little bit older than you, but I mean, it was in college that I started hearing all these Oklahoma bands and thinking, I can't believe I've never heard of these guys before, and it's the best stuff I've ever heard. But they were doing it kind of on their own. They were kind of going against the grain and doing it a little bit different, and you kind of grew up around that. Right.
It's kind of weird for me to talk about it, because I didn't ever get to witness any of those performances, or like, I really wish I would have. I kicked myself in the I wasn't necessarily old enough to get in to see some of those shows, especially when Turnpike was starting out, and a lot of that. But that is the people. I mean, those are the type of artists I was looking up to, especially Turnpike. I was the same way, like you said. Like, I was a little bit younger than you were, but I remember people were showing me or listening to Turnpike, and I was like, what is this? That was some of the first songs or like bands I was trying to cover their music was Dolly Shine, Turnpike, and then I eventually started listening to Childers. But I hadn't even discovered Childers at that point. I was listening to Cross Canadian Ragweed, Jason Boland, but even other Oklahoma artists, Stoney LaRue.
John Moreland is a great sad songwriter.
John Moreland. I've still yet to learn so much from all of those guys, especially John, the good songwriters. John Fulbright. I don't know if you ever listened to any John Fulbright. There's so many guys that I've still yet. I feel like I would love to meet and try to soak up some knowledge, but I don't want to be like the guy with a notepad and be like, "Hey, tell me everything you know." Like, I just want to hang out, and I want to be a fly on the wall more so, I guess. You don't even have to talk to me.
Yeah. I mean, you could learn a lot just being in the room.
Right.
So you write, Marlboro Man was the first song that you ever wrote? Or one of them?
It was. It was, as far as like after I picked up a guitar and was like, okay. I was already playing for a little while. But I thought if it wasn't that something hit me, but a good friend of mine had passed away And about that time I had started discovering Tyler Childers.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a song, Follow You to Virgie.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as I understood the backstory, it was about a friend or a family friend passing away or whatever. And I had listened to that song a few times, but after this friend of mine had passed away, he was an older friend, and I thought, I was already picking around this guitar trying to learn. But just for a split second, I thought, well, if they could write about that, I could write about this, or try. Mm-hmm. And I tried, and I didn't necessarily mean to use the Marlboro thing, but it's just kind of how it came out.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just truthfully the first song I wrote compositionally on the guitar. Mm-hmm. And
so
it
then
just came out.
When you wrote that song, how long did you have that song before you decided, I want to record this and put it out where people can hear it?
So, if I'm remembering right, I think I wrote it. It might have took me a couple of days to get it lined out, but it took me probably 2 or 3 more days to get a decent recording, I thought, on some app I had on my phone or something, or voice recordings, and I sent it to my dad. I'd sent it to people that knew the friend, and tried to send it to people that knew him well enough to understand the song. And then not long after that, I think my dad, I'm not trying to throw him under the bus, somebody shared it somewhere, and it kind of got out a little bit, and there were some people asking me about it. And at that point in time, I didn't take myself serious as a songwriter. I was just like, I don't know, it might be okay, but like, this is first one. Like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It still resonated with me, but I didn't take myself serious as a songwriter. That's the simplest way to put it. But anyway, that was like 2014 or 15, close around there, and I sat on it for 4 to 5 years, and I didn't understand that it was simple enough, or as simple as like uploading your stuff through a distributor, like online distributor, like DistroKid, mm-hmm. and you could have your stuff on Apple Music. I thought that was just for celebrities,
right? And
stuff. And so once I figured all that out, I got brave enough to start recording it. And I had another couple of injuries, and I spent enough time writing some stuff, and I was like, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try to record some stuff and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I put out 2 more songs before I put out Marlboro Man, but I slid Marlboro Man out in later that year, in like the end of 2020, and it has done more for my career as far as it being a singer-songwriter than I ever could have thought about doing.
It's funny. I didn't realize that about that song, but our friend Colby Yates that we were talking about earlier, Colby was telling me that he never wanted his music to get out there, and he had burned some CDs. I might butcher this story, but he said that he had kind of given them out to his buddies, but that was kind of it. And the way that the world sort of found out that he was writing these songs was JB Mooney. He gave one of those CDs to him, and of course JB took it and scattered it everywhere, and that was sort of how the world found out that Colby Yates played music.
That's awesome, though.
Because he has some of those songs, you can't find them now, but
mm-hmm.
like you've heard them, that they're pretty risque. Like you wouldn't want your kids listening to it and stuff. And
right.
Like we used to jam that stuff in college all the time, but apparently that was all because JB Mooney just leaked that stuff out, and then it was out there for the world to find.
I had no idea, because we had a burned CD that somebody burned for us off
mm-hmm.
their computer or whatever. So shout out JB for getting
for
that stuff out.
Yeah. So Marlboro Man kind of changes your life, changes the trajectory of what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But when that song comes out, what were you, bull riding wise, what were you doing? Where was your bull riding career at that point?
By the time I'd released that, I'd just gotten done, I think, at my 3rd World Finals with PBR. And was arguably the best year I ever had, as far as my bull riding career went. And it was through COVID, and that was weird. Trying to do, if anybody knows that's watching this, everybody remembers how weird COVID was, but trying to ride bulls professionally was ultra weird. I was getting through the season, and I felt like I was having a pretty good season anyway, fighting my head as usual. And towards the end of the season, I was kind of starting to catch some traction, and I was kind of climbing up in the standings, and I really thought I was lining up to win a world title. That's what I was gunning for. And I had my I don't want to say my hip blowed out, because I didn't dislocate my hip or nothing, but I tore the labrum in my right hip, and I had a bone spur on the head of my femur, and it was starting to eat the cartilage on the inside as well. I'd already had the surgery when I was younger, in like 2017, and after that, that's when I went to the PBR. And so by the time it came around this time, I'd already kind of put it in my head, like, if I have to have one more hip surgery, I'm probably just going to, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to reevaluate. Mm-hmm. But I didn't feel like I was, that kind of came up like in, not the middle of the season, but right after the middle, halfway point of the season or whatever. And I had a shit finals, and I almost stayed on one. And got wrecked out. Got knocked out. They hauled me out of there on a stretcher, and I'd never been on a stretcher before. So I woke up on this stretcher, and I was like, to hell with this. I was already playing the guitar, and I'd already put out 2 songs. Thankfully, a buddy of mine had leaked 2 other songs, or not 2, but one other song that I had shared with him. And that kind of started my music career, if you will. And then by the time the finals got over, and by the time it came down to me putting Marlboro Man out, I was already kind of like head first. I was like, I'm going to do this. Mm-hmm. And I put that song out because it was one of the only one in my catalog or arsenal, I don't know. And I was really just kind of pissing in the wind at that, and I still am. But I was always proud of that song. But after I don't know, it never felt like there was a significant point to where it was like, oh my gosh, this is blowing up. But it was just like all of a sudden one day it was just like, holy shit, what is going on? Mm. But also at the same time it's like, holy shit, I don't necessarily have to ride bulls anymore if I don't want to. And that was a huge relief. I'm so thankful for my music to do that.
What sort of like internal battles did you have with yourself? Because I guess, in one way you're really fortunate that you've got 2 really cool careers that you can choose between. But nevertheless, that is still a really hard decision to make that probably very few people have ever had to decide, do I go make music my livelihood, or do I keep riding bulls at the highest level?
Yeah, it sounds very, I sound very spoiled when I think about it out loud. It has been a very hard decision for me. And it's not so much, I had to take a step back from it because I had to take a step back from bull riding anyway because of the injuries. Mm-hmm. And then I started doing the music deal, and I felt like I had to do, as far as the music was concerned, especially doing live music, I felt like there was this rite of passage that I had to go by, especially if I wanted to try to play with a band or anything. So I tried to do that thing for a little while, and I got a little bit too overwhelmed, probably, and I feel bad about it, but I had to take a break from everything for a couple of years, and I felt like it was, I was trying to take a break from my ego. I was never trying to be anybody anyway. I never wanted to be, I never even really wanted to be Colten Jesse, the world champion, or Colten Jesse, the singer-songwriter. I just had to talk myself into being like, these are the things that you do. They're not who you are necessarily, and I still have to talk myself into I still have to talk myself into doing live gigs. I haven't talked myself into getting on one in a long time, but if I had to get on one or thought about it, I would have to talk myself into it. But all that being said, I don't know. That's probably what's been weighing the most on my mind in the past couple of years. It was not so much either the egotistical stuff I was talking about, but it was more so like, and I never wanted to operate on this sort of level. I spent the majority of my life trying to operate on trying to be like a genuine instinct, if you will, instead of trying to go after money or chasing it or anything. But it started coming down to like, I think I may have to do one or the other. But I always gave myself that ultimatum anyway. I'm gonna have to do one or the other. I could never do both. But I don't know. I just wanted to be all in on whatever I did anyway. But there for a couple of years, especially as them groceries started getting higher, like I mentioned earlier, I thought about going back to riding, but just because I knew it wasn't that I thought I could make more money, but it was that I trusted my instincts on that more so than I've trusted my instincts on the music. And I'm still learning a lot. Like I said earlier, the music is still a very scary journey for me, to put it plainly.
Sure. Well, then, I mean, they're two different worlds, but also rodeo and music are very similar. Like the way that you end up having to live and travel and, live out of a van basically, or be, dragging a guitar case or gear bag onto a plane to go hit these things. It's not for everybody, and some people the toll is really heavy being away from home all the time. Some people thrive in that situation, others do not, and that's a tough thing, I think, for people to get over that, but also being in the public eye. Like if you're riding bulls at a high level on TV, or if you're standing on stage in front of hundreds of people, I mean, that's a lot of attention on you, and that's a tough thing to swallow.
Yeah. From my own personal experience, I probably always put too much pressure on myself as it was anyhow, but the bull riding was a little bit different because I didn't have to look at anybody if I didn't want to, and I could act like they wasn't there. It wasn't that I would ignore people, but I mean, I try to take care of my business and go about my way. The music, though, it feels like I have an obligation to be more personable, but I want to be that way anyway. But especially when, like you were saying, just being on a stage. Like even if you're just talking into a mic in front of 5 people, I don't know, for me, like that's terrifying. Not terrifying, but I've had to work through that for the past however long I've been playing or trying to play music, and I still say dumb shit on the mic. And I probably always will in front of a live crowd because it's overwhelming. I don't know how to explain it. I talk to my friends about it that go with me, or especially my friends that don't know necessarily anything about live music or gigging and all that. Like, you see it enough and you start realizing, like you said, like that it does have, I know it has to be a toll on other people because I've just had a little experience, and it's taken a toll on me in a weird way. Like I said, I don't know how to explain what it does, but it's just mentally tolling. Sure.
Well, when we first met, you were on the road. You had a van, you had a band, you were going, playing a lot of shows. You were with Kenny Fiddler a lot, Josh Malloy, and playing all over the country, really. And then you decided, like you said, to take a break. It seems like more artists now are doing that and being more kind of public about that. But that is nevertheless a hard thing to do. And I mean, you don't have to go into detail, but what for you was, how did you know it was time to take a break? And just because I think some people don't realize that, and they just burn themselves into the ground, and the consequences can be really severe. So that I would applaud you for that. But what was it for you that made you think, okay, it's time to take a break here and rein it in?
Well, I was already, like you mentioned, I was on the road anyway. I was already a couple of years into the relationship I'm in now, and I was definitely still learning a lot about love at that point in time, and I still am now. But we went out on a run. Before we went out on this run, me and my fiance now, Caitlin, we went down to Alabama. Her sister was playing softball down there, and we took her and her two younger siblings. We took them down there, and then I flew out of there to meet up with the band, and we went up to Wyoming and played a good gig there. No, we went to Sheridan. Yeah, my bad. We went to Sheridan first and then Gillette. Played two good good paying gigs. And then went up and played a bull ride in North Dakota, and we were supposed to come back. I don't remember when, but in between the time I flew back from, I could be remembering this timeline wrong, but this is how this timeline of events went. The time I flew from that vacation in Alabama and flew up here, and we went to Wyoming and all this. A friend of mine and my fiance's, and I didn't know her as good as she knew her, but and a mutual friend of a lot of my friends around here, she passed away, and it was just kind of out of, very, very sudden, and it wasn't necessarily that it hit me as much, but it hit me that I wasn't here when it was hitting my significant other that much, and then it just hit a different I don't know. All of a sudden, I was almost, I don't remember how old I was at that point in time, but I was getting to be like mid-20s, and I was really trying to grow up. Still am. But at that point in time, I just felt like, I was like, I got to go back home. I got to go back home and take care of some stuff. But also, I didn't feel that confident in my music. I didn't feel that confident in my playing ability. And then to top it all, the bank had let me, I had like a construction loan on this place that I really couldn't afford. And I was just making payments on like the interest on that, not to put all my banking shit out there, but
yeah, but construction loans are super high interest, expensive.
And so they was waiting for me to get approved for the full loan. And I wasn't getting approved for the full loan, so they was still just letting me slide in there, like just rent it for. It was a bad situation. I owed a lot of money to the bank at that point in time, but I owed a little bit of money to the IRS. I got that place sold and skated through that deal, thankfully, to some friends of mine. Thankfully, they wanted the place, and I got that place I'm at now that we were at earlier, and it worked out. But for the past 2 to 3 years of my life, it has been what some might say. I'm not even going to say that, what I was going to say, but it's been paycheck to paycheck, probably. We'll put it that way. Mm-hmm. A lot of learning, but I couldn't be more thankful for it.
Sure.
I'm a little hard-headed. I kind of went about it. I kind of go about it in a very DIY way. I shouldn't as much, but my bad.
So what do you think with people, with artists kind of publicly taking breaks now, more, I guess you see it more often. If there's artists that are listening to this or that, like what would you say to someone that's like contemplating taking a break? What do you think you're better off for doing it?
I don't know. It's tough to say. I feel like I am, though. But I tried so long to convince myself that I wasn't worried about my success, especially after I decided to quit riding bulls. After I quit riding bulls is kind of when I started trying to try to take care of myself But it wasn't until the last 2 years that I've been trying to take care of myself. And after I took that break off the road, and I've learned the hard way that, as far as I'm aware, we only get one brain.
Mm-hmm.
And you get out of it what you put into it. And that means mentally talking to yourself, but also like physically what you're putting into your body, what you're consuming through any of your senses. I don't care. I don't know. You want, whatever. But I've been trying to treat my body like it's a miracle, because it's a miracle that any of us are here, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know. I've been getting probably too spiritual in the last little while, but the break's been good for me, I feel like, because I never had no like predetermined path that I needed to take for my music. I just wanted to write, I just want to write good songs. I don't really give too much of a shit about anything else besides that, as far as my music goes. Mm-hmm. And I feel like being at the house just gives me that time to unload it, whatever I want to write. Because being on the road's one thing. Being on the road's fun. Being on the road's cool. You get to meet new people, and I love meeting new people. I feel like that helps my songwriting probably more than anything. Just getting different perspectives. But you got to have a time. If you're going to be a songwriter, or not a songwriter, just an artist, like, you got to have your time to do your thing,
Right, absolutely.
In my own opinion.
Yeah. Well, I got one more question, I guess, about this, because you've kind of bounced around it a little bit, but I think something that a lot of people struggle with is their ego or pride or even just self-worth in general. But it's a really, I don't know if anybody ever figures it out. I think about it all the time, just, how often are you doing things solely to suit your ego versus doing things because it's right. And I'm just curious, because you've had a lot of experience in this. What sort of things have you kind of learned about your own ego and pridefulness, I guess, because it sounds like you're really introspective about that and you think about it. So what have you learned about yourself, or that maybe other people could take away from that? Because it's, you've been very humble about all of this, but you've got a lot of experience.
I appreciate that, because I feel like I've drilled myself probably too much on trying to be humble, but I don't know. I'd have to chalk it up to my raising again on that. My parents were humble folks. I feel like come from humble folks before them, and we come from a humble small town. But I don't know. I feel like bull riding taught me more about my ego than music did. Music taught me how to decipher the thoughts I was having about a bunch of it. And I don't mean to use songwriting as my therapy, but it kind of is sometimes, a lot of the time. But bull riding taught me a lot about my ego, because I found myself, and it wasn't even necessarily like I was trying to, or that I thought I was better than anybody else, or that I thought I was trying to be better than anybody else. But I got to where my ego got into like this vicious cycle to where I was obsessed with beating myself, or trying to. And if I couldn't beat myself, or if I didn't beat myself, then I beat myself up, or and it was just exhausting, honestly. And I didn't even understand it until after I quit riding bulls. But I was basically doing the same thing with the music. I still do it to this day a little bit, but I did it with bull riding. Instead of trying to inflate my ego in front of a camera or anything, I just tried to inflate it with my craft or whatever. And so I would just obsess over whatever, riding, especially at the time when I was riding. But now I just wanted to, I wanted to be better than I was the day before, and I still want to. And it's not that I feel like that affects my ego, but as far as just feeling like I've always had a lot of support, and I've always appreciated it, but it made me have to take a step back a couple of times and be like, am I good? Not good, but I mean, that was a question I would ask myself. Am I good, or do I just have a lot of good people around me?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Which is cool in itself, but I don't mean to obsess about things, but
right.
I just want to be good.
Right.
And it's not that good is a certain thing or a certain way of being, or it's just that, I just want to put my best foot forward and my best effort out in everything I do. And I try too hard sometimes, but.
Sure. I think people that are great at anything are people that are never satisfied. It's just sort of a mindset that you look at greatness, and those are always people that, wake up trying to be better the next day. But I think also maybe the flip side of that is incredibly hard on people is this is true of me, that it's really hard for me to be kind to myself and say that was good.
Yeah.
Because that's not an easy thing to do when that is your mindset, that you wake up trying to be better every single day. That's a great mindset to have, but it's also heavy to never, be kind to yourself in general about, like, you did do good there. Be happy with that.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, that was it.
I'm glad you said that, because that's been a big lesson I've had to learn for myself. And, I've had to have people help me learn that lesson. Mm-hmm. And I haven't. Sorry, I'm not trying to air my stuff out. I've never gotten or went to talk to anybody, but it got to a point to where I felt like I was going to have to, just to, more so just to, I needed somebody to tell me that I wasn't crazy.
Yeah.
For a split second. And luckily for me, I got some good friends. So I didn't do that, but it's so hard learning. It's been so hard for me to learn that lesson, to be kind to myself, just to be able to talk kind to myself, or give you, like you said, that pat yourself on the back.
Yeah, it's okay from time to time.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it's so hard, not only for me, but it feels like a lot of people, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I wish it wasn't so hard for a lot of people.
Right.
I wish we were all okay with what we did.
Mm-hmm.
I wish we were all okay with what we did all the time.
Yeah.
And some of us are. Never mind. I'm not going to start getting there. I'll start getting way out there.
Well, we're getting pretty close to time, but there's two questions that I always ask everybody at the end of these.
Yeah.
First question, it's your last day on Earth. You're in a cold, dark cell, and they're going to hang you at sundown. The guy comes by, and you get one song, and you get one last meal. What's the last song, and what's your last meal?
Oh, dang. I think I'd have to hear, I don't know, this is the song that come to mind. This song and a meal, right? Mm-hmm. The song, for some reason, I'm thinking of Choctaw Bingo by Ray Wiley Hubbard. I don't know why I'm thinking of Choctaw Bingo by Ray Wiley Hubbard.
You'd get a long last song.
Right. As far as the last meal goes, I think I'd take I think I'd take 2 eggs, and I don't even eat breakfast that much, but I think I'd take 2 eggs for dinner. Just 2, over medium. with some fried potatoes, hand cut. And probably just some toast, some orange juice.
And who makes that the best? Who's making it for you?
The breakfast I'm thinking about is my grandma Betty's, and she's no longer with us. But
yep,
she anybody that had Grandma Betty's fried potatoes or breakfast, they know what I'm talking about.
They know what's up. All right, if you think of a book, a movie, a TV show, what character do you think best resembles you?
Oh my gosh. I have no idea. I do not remember the actor's name. I think he's from Oklahoma. I know his name, but I can't think of it right now. But have you ever watched that Ballad of Buster Scruggs?
Yeah.
He played, I guess, the Buster Scruggs character all
Yeah.
in white.
Yeah.
I like to think of that guy a lot. Just his charisma and optimism.
Perfect. All right. Well, what do you got? Do you have any shows lined up coming up anytime soon, or are you just kind of hanging around? And
as far as the rest of this year goes, in September I got a couple shows. I think I opened for Lowdown Drifters in Elk City, and then I think later on in September I may have an opening date with Josh Malloy, but I don't know if that's confirmed, so I don't know for sure on that. But as far as the rest of the year goes, I don't have a whole lot. And then next year, still kind of open too. I just kind of got back on the road this year, kind of jumped back in the middle. I'm thankful to have an offer extended to come back to Dusty Vaquero Days next year. I'll be back there next year, and that's the only thing on the books.
Perfect. Well, where do people, where online can they find you if they want to find your music, your tour dates, all that stuff? Where can they find you?
Yeah, so I try to have all my socials tied together, but also I try to have my website tied to all that, and then all my other stuff. I try to run it all, and I should probably seek a little help. But my socials, I think all my socials have my website on them, and all my information should be there. It could be scattered, and all my tour dates should show up on Bands in Town or Spotify for artists. And I think they show up on Apple Music now, but all my music's on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you're streaming music. Like I said, I've been trying to tie stuff together with my website for 5 years, but
it's a hard thing to do.
Oh my gosh, I should probably find somebody to run that for real.
What about new music? What do you got coming down the pipeline?
As far as new stuff, we just released an album. Me and Zach Holiday, and another few friends of ours, Devin Carruthers and Brad Wolf, and had a few other friends stop by and help out on this project. But we just put it out probably a month ago or two. It's called Waking. That's the newest thing, but we've been working on some more things over at Zach's, and he'll be in off the road, and he's been playing with another, I feel like a major touring artist. I won't name drop or nothing, but anyway, he'll be back pretty soon, and I think we'll work on a few songs for an EP, and try to rush that out as soon as we can.
Sure.
With
Sweet.
no marketing technique.
Well, go check out the new stuff, and then keep your eye out for a new EP coming out. But thanks for doing the podcast.
No, thanks for coming over here and doing it. I
Absolutely. Glad to be here. All right. Well, we'll talk to you later.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for listening in. Don't forget to head over to dustyvaquerodays.com. You can find festival tickets there. In our store, we have all kinds of different merch. Big thank you to Brendan Scott Green for making the original music for this podcast. Please give us a review. We'd love to hear your feedback, and tell your friends. We'll see you next week.